Welcome to Who Cave Conversations with Mark. It's Ace.
I have found the ones from the podcast.
I know those objects. It's the 5 Doctors. Welcome to Who Cave Podcast.
Welcome to Who Cave Conversations with Mark.
Hello and welcome to Who Cave Conversations, and today we have a special episode which will be put out on Christmas Day for us all. Now obviously the time zone things are going to be different. Some people will see it Christmas morning, some of us people in Australia might see it later in the day. Hey Shane, so first of all, say welcome and hello to my co-host Shane. How are you today this morning? Nice and early, Shane?
Yes, I'm awake. I'm good.
It's not as early as usual though, is it?
It's not. I love daylight saving time changes and the way it lines up. It's only 11 hours now.
And one new addition to our little group today, Neil Cole. Hello, Neil. How are you?
Hello. I'm alive and well. I've just caught the family hamster, so I'm now a hero in the house. So I'm doing okay, thanks.
And we have Professor George Lightfoot, aka Al Dewar. I'm always amazed at those names that keep coming up, Al.
Well, you know, I like to confuse people.
That's right. So who's talking today?
Curveballs. I'm surprised nobody's asked what the KCBE is, and I'll give you a small
I'm
Christmas
thinking about it.
Know that.
Well, how about we ask now? Do we get the formalities over? And let's ask Al now.
Shall I tell you?
I'm going down the night something British
Yes,
Empire.
you're very close. You're very close.
Oh, it's Oberon.
The
No,
British Empire.
I'm sorry. I'm thinking of someone else. No.
Yeah, it's Knight Commander of the British Empire, which I didn't know. Apparently, he's Knight
That's
Commander
close.
of the British Empire.
Well,
Who would have known?
I was off-piste.
And obviously, we might as well add this up because it is Christmas. Tom Baker. There we go. So I thought I'd better bring him along today. He's put his hat on for us with his character options TARDIS. Obviously, part and theme of what we chat about usually. And welcome, Ed. How are you, mate?
I'm good, thank you. Season's greetings. Merry Christmas.
Yeah, so at a very last minute, there was a decision made to do a little Christmas episode, and I thought, I suppose we had obviously Neil, Cole, and Al and Shane, but obviously there was one piece of the puzzle missing because obviously you've been a integral part of our journey, let's say, from this podcast or this specific coverage of character options and the little journey from its humble beginnings back in 2005 today. So the premise of today is going to be a reflection, I guess, of the year. This was Shane, you and I sort of got together and had a bit of a chat, and then we spoke to Al about this initial concept idea that I was toying around with, and obviously
A year ago now, wasn't it?
Yeah. So and then all of a sudden it just bled into a conversation. I just wanted to get behind a little bit and tell the story of character options because it's 2005. So a long time, Al, isn't it? Really, and a lot of figures have come out since initially it commenced. So yeah, and I think it's just it was nice to honour and look back at some of the processes, and obviously we've had a lot of different people along the way. We've had Ed Barnett-Ward and Andrew Teal, and we even had Dave Turbot at one point when we went into our classics. And I think it's just great to get a different perspective on everything. Before we get right into that, obviously Neil, you're new to the group, so we're going to ask you a couple of quick-fire questions, which we've all answered at some point in time. So my first one is...
nothing, Neil.
I know nothing. So, what got you into Doctor Who? And who is probably, overall, your favourite, or what's the Doctor that influenced you or you grew up with most?
Well, that's an easy answer. Obviously, we were in a house where we did have a colour telly, but we didn't have a lot of money. So, remarkably, my dad saw the telly as important. So he knew the guy, went for a pint with the radio rentals guy, and so he said, we always got great deals on TVs. So we got a video disc player before anybody else, but it was just, we had nothing else, barely, we didn't have a telephone or anything like that, but we did have a good TV. And I just remember catching, it was grandstand. I hate football. My dad managed a little football team, dragged us down every day, every Saturday, come back, thank the Lord. Grandstand was on, and then it was the early Pertwee, so the later Pertwees, I just remember. And then I went to a pub. First memory was went to a pub in Keswick in the Lake District. We were staying there, and it was when the opening hours were strict. Dad was playing darts. It was tea time. Doctor Who was on, and it was The Green Death was on, and I remember that. And then after that, it was Tom Baker's first season. I mean, Robot, Ark in Space. I remember being the really pivotal moment. I thought it was so just caught me. My dad loved sci-fi, so it was like he'd shown me BBC Two repeats of Forbidden Planet and Day the Earth Stood Still. So it was that beautiful golden age of sci-fi. And then, of course, in 75, 76, I went again on a rare holiday. We went to Blackpool, and there was the exhibition. And there was a guy, that as I've said numerously to people who listen to me rant on, it was just going down into the TARDIS when you're 5 and 6 and seeing the original props. It was just sublime, really. It was just, and somebody was in Broton and came to shake my hand at the end, and I just was terrified. I genuinely was at that point. I loved it, but I was terrified. It was just so, and it's in here today. The ruddy costumes in here, and that was the weirdest thing. And so that was it. So easily, John Pertwee. I always say John Pertwee and Tom. I can never decide. I always say John Pertwee consistent throughout. Tom Baker, Game of Two Halves, definitely. But I would say if Tom Baker had sustained those first 3 years longer, it would have probably been Tom all the way. But it does very silly. Into the ground, but I still love it. I mean, I love it all, and I love season 18. It's one of my favorite. I love hard sci-fi, so that's a really good season. I think it's a great season of science fiction again. So there you go. Sorry, I've tried to keep that short because I could ramble on all day. So
no, that's okay, and it's a full circle moment for you, as you said, because going from Broton shaking your hand as a wee one, and then he's sitting not far from you, or standing, I should say,
just
not far from you. With another iconic piece, the Scarrison, which we'll talk about a little bit later.
Yeah.
Now, another final question is, what was your favourite piece of merchandise growing up of Doctor Who, and do you still have it?
Well, the first, I can give you 3 bits. I'm going to say the first bit was poster magazine I got in Blackpool, which I still have. And it was just, again, at that point in the time, there was nothing. I think there was about 4 Target books out. And I got my first Target book on that visit, which was the Zarbi, which is when I worked out the Doctor had other lives, and that was the art. Again, I've always drawn. So that book cover, I mean, it just blew me away. I remember still seeing that. Got my first yogurt as well. I remember sitting with my yogurt. It was a ski. It was like bloody magic porridge. Do you know what I mean? Sitting with a ski, it was like so exotic with the Zarbi. It's like happy days, man. It doesn't get better than that. And then after that, the Weetabix cards, again, was like just... I mean, talking about... I was mentioning to Al before, I'm an action figure. I love the art form. I just love them. I think they're just fabulous things. And I think the Weetabix card was the proto... In a strange way, the proto action figure for Doctor Who. It was the closest we got for so long. They were so lovely, and there was something magical about them being free. They weren't free. You had to buy, obviously, you had to eat your own body weight in cereal, didn't you? But it was just the fact you went down with your mum, who knew nothing about Doctor Who, particularly on a Friday afternoon. I went shopping, weekly shopping. There was this magic bit of Doctor Who because there was just nothing, and it's just that's why the character figures are bloody sublime, aren't they? Really, because
You're absolutely right. There was literally nothing,
Nothing.
and then there was the pallet. It was the pallet toy stuff, and that was too expensive. And
I only ever got one Dalek, and I got a Dennis Fisher Tom, which I still have.
Dennis Fisher.
I swapped it to my best friend years ago, and he for Christmas 2 years ago he gave me this present. We grew up together, and we've stayed in touch, and it was the figure. And he got it back. He said, "Neil, I know you swapped this at a time." And God knows what it would have been for. Probably a collection of 2000 AD or something. You know what I mean? It'll have been some ridiculous collection. And there it was again. And it's just lovely because it's the one I had. And I remember having to build my own cardboard TARDIS because we just, as you say, they were expensive. And not in every shop. When we lived sort of rurally, semi-rurally, they weren't. And then the other thing I loved was the single for Peter Howell's theme. I remember I'm of the age where that came out, and I went to Woolworths and got the single, and there was the Astronauts was the track on the B-side. Yeah. And I just thought that music at the time was stunning. I didn't know if I liked it on the program, but I just knew I loved it. And then the final thing, sorry, it's not, is I thought the Sevens kits, even though I think I've just about, sanded my fecking thumbs off doing the damn things, trying to sand them all. But I thought they were remarkable. I remember making a Genesis Dalek, and it really did look like a Genesis Dalek. And I just thought there was something very British about those, and something rather charming again about the Sevens. So there you go. I'll stop there. That's my until the character options came along.
It's funny that you mentioned the cardboard, the Weetabix figures, and nothing being around. And I've shared this story previously, but as a young child in the primary school age, I had it was just the books for us, and my school library had the hardbacks, and I was probably the only kid in the school that I was probably the only kid in the school that actually probably signed for them to take them out, but I just absorbed them. And the Three Doctors was one I just read over and over again. And then I had a friend that immigrated from Scotland who came across in grade 6, and he was a Doctor Who fan. So
the suitcase of Target. Did you have that?
Guess what we talked about all the time. Yeah. So, but he had the choice. He had all the figures and things and the books, and his dad said,
somebody from Scotland emigrated to Australia. I'm surprised they didn't just disintegrate on impact going to that heat.
A lot of them did. Hopeless. The idea of how to handle this stuff, seriously.
I always say though, I think that the reason that for me the museum, I persevered so much to make this happen was I think because, as I know I don't mean to sound like a sob story, because we didn't have a lot, I treasured things so damn much. So like that Dennis Fisher, the fact it came back to me intact, it was just they were so important. And I think it was that curation of objects, and if I got figures, you display them, and you'd almost have your little museums as a child, on your shelf. It became an important, there was something about the whole curating. Yeah, exactly. I can, Shane, you bastard, I can see those bad boys looking at us. Yes. What a collection you've got.
Yeah, it's pretty scary.
The man of many figures, Shane, aren't you?
Figure envy there. Yeah. Yeah, sorry.
But I had to make my figures out of cardboard. Like you're saying, I had to make a cardboard TARDIS.
Give us that old bloody sub story. Nobody's
Once upon a time in Australia, we had nothing. But hence, it's
we
like
did have Doctor Who on 4 nights a week.
I wonder what the perspective of like a younger fan is, because I had a Doctor Who club at school for 20 years, which I showed them Classic Who every Friday lunchtime. But I often wondered, was that, and the Tennant thing exploded while that happened, and all the bigger merchandise came in. I would just find it interesting to know how they valued that compared to our generation, where we were sort of really grateful for the slightest,
I think it was different. The people that I speak to that are part of that 2005 phenomenon. For me, it seems it's a cultural thing more than maybe I don't know. They're very, they loved the program instantly, and they kind of that's what got them into collecting. But I think they had access to that more than we did. I was much more like you. I had one parent that was very into sort of fantasy and sci-fi, and one parent that wasn't, which was my mum rather than my dad in your case. And you're right, there were certain things we just couldn't afford. You know,
Yeah.
we'd get pocket money, and if it didn't, and there's no way that was stretching to a
No.
Dennis Fisher
No.
30 quid TARDIS that. And I loved it. I used to look at them in the catalogue. We used to get
the
Grant's
catalogue.
catalogue.
Absolutely. Yeah, you used to sort of wish. It was wishing, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was different culture, but when you got, I mean, I always used to as well get, like, I remember Mego's black hole figures, which were the little articulated 3 3/4, and I always used to get Harry Booth, and I never get bloody Vincent or old Bob or Star. I'd always end up with like Dr. the female, and then it was the same with that. I got the Clash of the Titans figures, and I can't remember what I got. I got Sharon the Boatman.
Yeah,
he was hardly articulated.
When you didn't get to choose, did you?
No, it was what was on the shelf. So you end up with
that was a great film to be a 10-year-old around.
What, Clash of the Titans?
Clash of the Titans.
Oh, it's
I
a great
love
film.
that movie.
I haven't seen it. I remember I loved that film. Even then, I remember thinking the effects were clearly they were slightly dated, but there was something wonderful and magical about. You knew they were by a man.
Clash of the Titans was
of that style of Ray Harry now.
I was going to say it was that one step on from Ray, kind of the Argonauts film with the fighting skeletons, which I used to make out of plasticine. I used to absolutely love those things. It was just brilliant.
They're just beautiful films, aren't they? I would say I've got a Moloch from the Time Machine. Very, very lucky to have one which I repaired. I mean, it was in such terrible state. I mean, it was like it was like blue brown flakes with a nose. It took me about 3 to 4 months to sculpt a new face and piece it. But anyway, but I always say to that film is beautiful. The Technicolor on it, when you watch it now, it's that's the only word I can use to describe it. It's got a magic in it.
That one, that's the film that I used to find really disturbing because as a kid, when we watched, whenever the Time Machine came on, it was the antithesis of Doctor Who. Doctor Who was kind of like fun, but that film with those big circular, it looked like cement holes going into the ground, and these Morlocks would come out of them, and it was scared that crap.
I love that film. I loved that. To me, was the prototype Doctor Who. Well, I always say I think Doctor Who was sort of Sherlock Holmes, the time traveler, and Bernard Quatermass. I always think that to me was always what Doctor Who was an amalgam of in my mind. Sorry, Mark, I'm going off piste here, aren't we? Sorry,
but that's what it's all about, Neil. We're chatting about things growing up, our childhood reflections, and again, I think it's a true testament. We're surrounded, or we are not surrounded by certain things as a young person, and as we grow up into adults, look at Shane behind him. He's full of action figures. We didn't have them over here either. And I never thought I would see the day where I'd have a full suit Cyberman sitting behind me, a Sea Devil, and another Earthshock Cyberman sitting there, and a Troll Doll.
So now that it's Christmas, Mark, do you ever think about popping that costume on and just, instead of being Santa with the family, just be the cyber leader around with the family and dish out a few presents dressed as the Cyberman?
Let's just say my family tolerate my love of Doctor Who, and hence why the Who Cave was born.
Can I just ask Al, question? Al, do you collect your own figures?
No.
I just wondered if you did or not.
I'll be honest, some, but I think it's funny because you're more into props and costumes, and props and costumes is definitely the bit I kind of like more as well. I like the hard. I love the figures. Don't get me wrong, but and I do collect some. I've got some bits and bobs up in the loft for 100%. But like, and it tends to be a case that when I work on something, I kind of put my heart and soul into it, and then it's gone and it's out, and then the next one's on my desk, and I'm pouring my heart and my soul in. So I absolutely care passionately about making them and making really good action figures. But do I collect them? No.
I just thought that it's like when that's what I was going to say. So Keith Barnfather, who's I do bits and bobs with Keith a lot now, and we're just talking about as you get older, it's that legacy idea of where I just look at when I've seen what you've done with character, you've created this archive really of beautiful figures, and I get it that the objectivity that it's difficult to keep that, when you're so close to stuff. It's like my pictures, I tend to sell them. And then sometimes people, I think sometimes one of my kids will go, "Oh, wish you hadn't got rid of that." And I'm thinking, maybe should have kept that one. But it's on to the next. It's like a constant. But it's just that sort of idea. I just wondered if you archived them as a historical thing.
No, I mean, I'd run out of space, and my wife has absolutely no interest. I mean, I can't display anything. I mean, there's a TARDIS I made when I was probably about 14 up there. That's about yay high, out of plastic card, and I've got a lightsaber and a couple of bits and a nice Mackenzie trench TARDIS up there. But for the most part, no. Like I say, I put some stuff in the loft, and I sort of keep some pieces, but I've never collected them. To be honest, I realized I probably should have, but I probably realized that too late. But weirdly, we have an archive in China, which has got, and I'm not kidding, it's got literally everything that we've ever made.
Well, there's an archive here that's got everything too else.
The Go Figure book was quite nice. I got that Go Figure book, then that got me thinking. I thought, I wonder if you have a, like an archive, because I think one of the things about Doctor Who, it seems to be things become historically relevant, don't they? It seems to, in certainly, just even like Dapol, Dapol, or I don't know how you pronounce it, Dapol, or whatever. But even those little quirky things now, you've got it just becomes culture. It's like, I'm always talking about cultural history here, popular cultural history always is, and it is like.
But on a one-to-one basis, like at the BFI and stuff like that, it's actually amazing the amount of people that will come up to you and kind of say, my childhood was kind of, and they're younger than me, obviously. So they say, you were such a massive part of my childhood because you were doing this, this, and this. And I forget sometimes that it's 20 years. We're 20 years down the line from Doctor Who. And that's the only thing I would say. Don't misread it when I say it's only ever brought pain. That's like a work thing, but much like yourself, probably I do care passionately about what I do and the figures that I make, and I try and make them as best I can. But it is literally, let's do the next one.
I find I work 2 days. I helped found a children's charity in Hexham. And I found I still do 2 days a week there, one-to-one, with kids who can't manage either special or mainstream school. And I find that's sorry, I don't mean to say palate cleanser, but it's like you go away for 2 days completely out of the museum, and then I come in and sometimes I go, oh, wow, this is, and I find that, and it's that thing, if I just worked in here 7 days a week by myself every day, I think you just lose objectivity. You just lose that.
You do, and that's what, I completely agree, and that's what, Doctor Who's not the big part of my job. The big part of my job is Peppa Pig and the other products we're working on. Doctor Who's actually a small part of it. So when I do get to do it, I focus on 100%. And I guess you're probably the same. That when you're in it, and when you're not in it, you.
I'm quite. I mean, I've ended up here bizarrely. It's very odd. I was a teacher for 30 years, but I've ended up now. I sort of draw, I write. I do bits in here. I do practical work in here. I'll do some stonework if need be. A bit of bloody mortar fell on my head this morning, so I'll be doing that. But I find that for my sort of spinny brain, I find that quite useful because it can just think, I'm sick of this. I'm going to go and just write a little bit now. And then I think because it's different subjects, like I'm doing the history of Flash Gordon at the minute, right the way back to the drawings, the Raymond drawings, and I love this. It just gives me a break from Doctor Who because I do love. Obviously, it's my main passion, but it's just nice to have a total. It
can't be everything, and I think when you're creative and you're very creative, and I am. I think you need different things to do. And it's funny you say things like mortar and bricks and stuff because I'm as I'll go out and build a pizza oven, or I'll go and kind of try and repair a bit of stuff, and I just get on with it. That was probably the same. If there's nobody else to do it, you just get on and do it yourself. Like, I think the modern mentality is get somebody in, and I'm kind of like, I repaired the microwave the other day. I had it in bits, and I
couldn't do that. That is really good. I mean, I did the electrics in here, but I've done
microwave maybe.
But no, microwave. That's beyond my.
Well, no. So the point was there. The microwave just randomly stopped. So I was like, "Well, that's really weird. It's been perfectly fine. It's not that old." And it turned out that what had happened was that it's got two switches on either side of the door as a safety feature. don't piss about with microwaves. It's got two captures.
Yeah.
One is sheared off, so the microwave basically was engaged constantly, and it was basically saying, "I'm not safe to use." So it was a case of replacing the door. So I replaced the door. It's fine.
Yes.
Nobody's died.
No, all right, Al. Old boy. I used to be in a previous life a repairman, and microwaves was one of those things I used to fix. And funnily enough, I'm fixing one right now myself. My brother's has decided to give up the ghost. And
Sorry,
yours
you're not
was-
taking the mic. That's actually a true story. Sorry, I just thought you. Wow. What's the chances of the microwave? Have you done any microwave repairs, Shane? Have you got your microwave story?
No, the limit I ever had was organising the testing and tagging in the hotel I used to work at, and they always had all the microwave testers.
Hey, I don't bugger around with stuff unless I'm confident I can put it back together and it's not going to be shonky.
Yeah, there's a practical side to a microwave, as in switches and powering. This connects to that.
Welcome to your microwave podcast. We're on your microwave.
Who would have thought
Everybody just
we talk
tuning
about-
into this at the middle will be like,
I find it quite funny, Neil, that your dad was hospitalised with TB because my dad worked on a farm or lived on a farm rather.
Yes.
Worked on a farm, but he lived on a farm, and it would have been before the war, I reckon, because he was 1931, and I think it was when he was about. Well, maybe it wouldn't. It would have been just when the war was on. So it was 19.
Yeah, about the same age as my dad. Yeah.
And he was the same. He spent, I think he said something ridiculous, like he spent the best part of a year in a convalescing home, recovering from TB. It was just madness.
Yeah, it was quite moving, the whole thing, and it was just my mother had to sort of try and get across from Newcastle across to Slaley. And if you knew what that is, it's just like crazy. I don't know how she did it, and there was no help for funding, so it was just they were just married as well by all accounts, you know. It was just and he lost a rib and all this. Just take it for granted, you know. It was just like it's just very strange.
Oh my god, that's
Just to reverse back to the microwave chat. I know TB is a serious thing. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah. No, please, let's get back to microwaves. I mean, my world is expanding all the time.
Reverse polarity.
But one of the things I was going to say was one of the things I would love to have done is do what you do and do toys. But I sculpted this years ago, and so I just brought. This was a styro I did when I was 20 odd. I wanted to do an action figure I'm trying to get it in, and I was trying to do. This was with Milliput, you know. This was just off. I was quite pleased with the face, but I'm trying to get it. It was reasonable, but
it's pretty good.
But you know, it was. So I got quite self-taught myself just doing sort of bits of sculpting with air dry stuff, really, and then I used this air dry clay to build the Triffido, and I used something called Powertex, which my wife is an art she'd got into, which is it's like a very, very thin resin. It's brilliant stuff, and it hardens the foam, so I could work on it. And then I sculpted just with different grades of milliput, and first of all, like air dry clay, built it up, and then milliput to finish. I've never been in the business end. I've always just used what is being available, and and as an art teacher, I'm a great believer in. You can do a lot with a little, you know. You don't need to be buying £100 of clay. You know, it's like I do my book illustrations with a big biro, you know.
Has everyone seen the Blu-ray trailer?
Yeah.
Yes.
And what does everyone think?
Sorry. Well, you guys go.
Loved it. I loved it. I love seeing that. I'm not sure how my Canon brain slots into Tegan traveling again with the Doctor in older aged versions of themselves, but it's probably that memory TARDIS shenanigans. But I loved it. I love the fact they visited it again. Peter Davison himself seems to embrace the idea of his costume again now. He even wears it to conventions. Great to see Turlo back, and Mark Strickson now appearing there, and again, moving that story forward again. The Tryon, he's still on Tryon, and jokingly acknowledge that he got old and look at yourself in the mirror and all that sort of thing was all fun. I actually wondered, I think I saw a photo of Resurrection recently, and that room they went into where there was the trooper on the staircase, that looked very much like one that they filmed in Resurrection as well. So I don't know whether the room was the same one.
Bit of an homage, maybe.
A separate set or something. But yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it. And if ever there is a story to bring an update too. It's that one that it's got a few empty threads to be expanded upon.
The release date for this box set for everyone out there, I think, is going to be March next year.
Mestor was one of my big restorations in the museum, and I think it's nice that people know they can come and see that monster all year round. Like I used to be able to go to Blackpool. It's just nice that you can access it. It's not stuck in a private collection. You can come and see it, and that was for me the important thing. That because one of the interesting about the museum is that as I get older, it's that thing that you're very aware that you're not going to live forever. Ultimately, you're looking after something and making sure it doesn't just get dropped to bits and gets rubber. These are, I think, Doctor Who will continue, as these Blu-rays attest. There's continued interest, and it's just nice to think that not just the episodes, but the objects, themselves are looked after. And I think so. For me, it was just nice that people can come and. Yeah, you can actually see the Mestor.
But all in all, I think, with Warriors of Deep, Awakening, Frontiers, Resurrection, Planet of Fire, Caves of Androzani, and The Twin Dilemma, it'll be an interesting box set. They're
nice
putting a lot.
I like it. I like it as a season. I think it's quite a nice. I love the Awakening. I think the Awakening's really nice. Charming little. Just I don't know. It's just a nice mix. The Planet of Fire, which I was never massively fond of at the time, I just think now it's a lovely contrast. Before you go to Androzani, hell, no, it's a damn good season, and Frontiers is a good. Again, it's a good sci-fi, good old. It feels almost like an Outer Limits or something, like an old classic Outer Limits world. It's just a great. No, I've got fondness for that. Yeah. No worries from me on that set.
I agree. I think as a season, it's got a lot of very different things, and it has weirdly. I don't know what everybody else feels, but Tom Baker's final season 18 had a kind of doom-laden feeling about the whole thing, and you actually get a little bit of that arguably at this one, in the sense that the music and everything seems to be kind of like doo doo doo. It's almost like kind of foretelling that the end's coming, but you're not quite there yet.
Yeah. I think it's a strong season. I think did Frontiers, would Chris Bidmead, did he write Frontiers?
Yes.
Yeah, because I really like Chris Bidmead's work. I know
I do as well. It's slack, but I actually really like his.
I like him, and I like the little phosphorus lamps, the world at the end. The set. I like. Someone was criticising the sets, and I thought it was a good bit of world building again at the BBC, which. When people criticise, I always think, well, what they had to work with. I think it was a bloody valiant attempt. With what
it's very good. I mean, you can compare and contrast that with Planet of Evil, which is one of my favorite Tom Baker stories, and the Marestran ship that lands is just absolutely horrendous by today's standards. But you go to something like Frontios, and today they would probably do a little matte painting and make it try and look like the ship was sort of at a jaunty angle and crashed into the ground or whatever. But I agree, they were ambitious, and it mostly worked.
Yeah. But just sidetracking, the funny thing about us fans is that I look now on the shelves. I've bought nearly the whole thing on VHS. Then the DVDs come out, and I bought them all again. Yeah. And now the Blu-ray collection set is almost complete, and I've got them right there.
I swore I was going to do the Blu-rays. I swore. I thought, there's no way.
Buy anything.
My eyesight's so crap. I thought there's no point in buying these Blu-rays. What is the point? But then they are bloody gorgeous. The whole setup, the sets, the way they do them, they're just lovely sets.
I think the way they've regraded them and the new effects. Some of the new effects I think are unnecessary, but some are actually really good.
The only little gripe I'll raise with season 13 is the treatment on some of the episodes. I think it's where they've used some AI to. Now, I haven't had a chance to watch the whole box set yet, but I've seen some comparison footage with the AI, how it cleans up, it straightens Tom Baker's teeth. There's even a section with the android invasion where there's a finger missing off someone. So, so I'm yet to do an in-depth review and sit down and watch it on the big screen. Yeah. But other than that, it's a season 13's just that go-to, soft spot. You run into Tom Baker and
season 13 always feels like Harry's missing. Harry shouldn't have been ditched after season 12.
Well, he was there in Android Invasion.
No.
Sorry, that was a bit of a long bow, that one.
But yeah, so moving right along, guys, I think we could talk about box sets all day and some of these old classics. But Shane, this is probably, we're just going to quickly jump into something that you and I had the chance to do not so long ago. We got to meet someone from Classic Who over here in Australia.
In Australia, we got to see lots of Who growing up. 4 nights a week, in case I haven't mentioned it. You guys got to meet I'm assuming, got to meet all the actors and actresses along the way. We've never had Carol Ann Ford over here in Australia. It was pretty much one of those, I assume we're never going to get to meet any of those 60s characters or actors anymore. So when something like this happens, you guys may think, oh, well, we saw Carol Ann Ford here. She was there. She's done the Phantom films, Phantom events. She's done this and that. For us, it was like, wow, great. We finally get to see one of the first 3 or 4 companions. And it was a really special time. It was great to hear those stories. Great to see someone from the 1960s era of the show. And we had a great time.
Mm. And it was kindly brought to us at Sirens of Audio, who do podcasts on the Big Finish stuff. And obviously they're also get involved with bringing some of the guests over. And we've had some fun, haven't we? We do the little VIP dinners or meet and greets and things as well, and get some quality time with the actors to discuss. And it was just nice to, have someone from the original out here, because it was a rarity, the first and last time that we'll probably see her on our shores. So it was just a fantastic event. A lot of people. It was a busy day or a couple of days for us.
Does she still have the same? Does she still have the? It's going to sound like a weird question, but does she still have the same enthusiasm for it, or is it? Do you think it's more?
She does for her nostalgia.
An excitement to be involved in stuff again, and therefore that's the draw. Or do you think it's just that she actually has a real sort of nostalgia for it?
I think she does have nostalgia for what it was like back then, particularly in the way her life changed so much. I think there's an anecdote where she talks about going down the shops in her dressing gown, and then all of a sudden that had to change. So she does still have that gratitude, if you like, and the amazement of what happened to her in her life with all that. And she does love the stories with Bill and William Russell and Jacqueline.
Was it her choice to leave? Do you know? Was it her choice, or was it kind of the case that the first 2 went and then she kind of thought,
was supposed to leave?
I think she implied that it was her character was just not progressing. Shane and I got some more one-on-one time thanks to Phil Edney, our mutual friend at Sirens of Audio, gave us some time to sit down and chat with her privately. And it was really good. You can tell she's got that enthusiasm. And on side note, when we were chatting socially, her dog's called Luna, and so is mine, and it's a similar breed. So there you go. That was a bit of commonality I found.
The dog's called Luna. Her dog's
My
called
dog
Luna.
is called Luna.
My daughter's middle name is Luna Blossom.
Well, there you go. See, there's
It's
coincidences
the microwave
everywhere on this
saga
podcast.
all over again. Yeah.
I
She
don't
talked
have
about
anything called
microwaves.
Luna in my life. What about you, Al?
Caroline, got any
No.
microwave anecdote or anything?
no microwave anecdotes or even hamster related
Don't
anecdotes?
mention the
245
microwave. A
Warren?
lot of people that do figure reviews and things like that out there and talk about bits and pieces, but I don't think I've ever seen the breakdown and the mechanics of character and all people involved in the industry that go from initial concept and design. So how's it been for you, Ed, this year, just obviously in total, when we've approached you to speak about your contributions and stuff? So that's enough from me.
Yeah, it's been fantastic, because I think the thing is that I always find it quite amusing. Obviously, I take an interest in what kind of content goes out and about in the world about the things that we do, and it is very interesting, to see reviews and opinions and people's thoughts. But it has. I don't think I'm hidden away. I'm reasonably visible on the internet. If you search me, it's quite easy to find me. And it has always kind of slightly mystified me that no one ever asked. No one was asking, and it's been a really nice sort of change to go back and remember things. I mean, there's one or two things when I look back on episodes. I know there are a couple of attributions that I got wrong. I said somebody sculpted something when it wasn't them that sculpted it. It was someone else. I'm particularly forgetting. I want to pay tribute to a guy called Alex Down, who was a sculptor at Design Works, and in the very sort of early days of the sculpting department at Design Works, it was just me and Andy Teal and Alex, and Andy and Alex did the majority of those early sculpts. And I particularly think I attributed the Fifth Doctor to Andy when it was an Alex sculpt, and that's it's one of those things where you go, oh, kick yourself afterwards, and only realise when I'm going through the photographs and I'm like, hang on, I remember when that was taken. I remember Alex being around when I was photographing, and I also photographing some of the early sculpting stages. I found a load of images of from our workshop where I just photographed Andy sculpting, and I photographed Alex sculpting when Andy was sculpting the Ninth Doctor and Alex was sculpting Rose, and the legendary disco dancing versions. So yeah, I mean, the whole year it's always lovely to talk, and it's a very close working relationship. Obviously, I've had a close working relationship with Al for 30 years, but I've had a very close working relationship with Dave Turbot when he was at the BBC, and he's an absolutely wonderful guy, and maintains I've maintained a link with him long after he left the BBC. We're still friends and catch up occasionally. So it was really nice to share those moments with all of them, really. Over the course of this year, because I've now been in this house that I'm in now for exactly a year, and over the course of the year I've been basically retrieving boxes of stuff that has been in people's garages and all over the place. Everyone's been going like, oh, now you've got that big house, you can have your stuff back, and it's sort of been surrounding me, and I've been gradually unpacking things and finding all kinds of wonderful treasures of things like first shots and original sculptures and deco masters, and also huge amounts of paperwork that I've kept my diaries from the time, which lists all the things that people were working on at any one time, and all of the various stages that things went through. It's sort of quite amazing to look at notes that I took in a meeting where various things were mentioned for the first time, and you always get those things that when there's a character you're not familiar with because it's a new series character, you might write it down incorrectly, or there's a sort of, because you're just hearing the name for the first time, you don't know how it's spelt, you don't know how it's written, so you just kind of manically taking notes. I've got this number of characters to do, and that's what they're called. And I also found a whole load of scripts that I got from Matt Smith's era, which were wonderful as well.
Yeah, I suppose we're in a unique position, especially back then in Doctor Who really took off in a big way in going from Eccleston to Tennant. I think that was the real big kicker David Tennant was, I think that was, as Al was mentioned there, there was thousands and thousands of units being made compared to now where there's about 4,000 units. And obviously the character options figures, our little story we've been telling over the last 12 months, and also with the new event of the Vortex figure range, that we've had, one more release to come next year. Obviously, we've already previously discussed that there were delays due to various reasons and so forth. But I think in probably a little bit in reflection, Al, let's just take the Vortex to start with for this year. Just a bit of reflection points from yourself, and moving forward, I guess, into the future. Your thoughts overall, looking back at 2025.
So the first one obviously was the Pertwee one with the Sonic. Pertwee and Sonic wasn't, in fairness, including the Sonic wasn't my idea. I thought it potentially was going to be problematic. It kind of proved to be. I don't think we'll ever repeat that. I think the people that want a Sonic don't necessarily want a figure, and the people that want a figure don't necessarily want a Sonic. They're sort of slightly mutually exclusive, and in terms of going forward, that's something I'm actively avoiding. However, that said, we are looking at releasing, this is hot news, we are looking at releasing some electroplated other Sonics this year through some of the independents. So not through B&M, you won't have to go chasing, you'll be able to go and actually pick up some Sonics. So there are some on the way.
Well, actually, if you look backwards, obviously previously we had, what kicked it all off was the Shooty and Millie figure. Previously.
You're going.
No, that's okay. I think the Pertwee was a good stepping on, but we're just where it all kicked off for the Vortex. Obviously, we had those.
Yeah, the Shooty and Millie figures were the official first of the Gen 3 figures, multiple points of articulation and a very different approach to the figures, not just doing the molded flesh and the molded base colors with decoration on the top rather than slapping paint all over it. So they were good. They were absolutely horrible to work on. They were an absolute freaking nightmare start to finish to try and get those figures done. When I saw what came off the tooling, or the tooling as it came through the first shots, originally I had massive concerns. We had a ton of corrective action to do. That said, it was very much a cutting your teeth experience, in the sense that since then, and since going through that relatively not pleasant experience of getting those first two off the table, it has become incrementally easier. And that's partly because the factory now know what we want, the tool maker knows what we want. So it has all become a little bit easier, and the side effect benefit for people like, or things like the B&M stuff, is you can't tell a factory to make budget crap stuff while you're making nice Vortex stuff at the other side of the factory. So everything's kind of got pushed uphill. The quality's got pushed uphill on the Vortex stuff, and the knock-on effect is the B&M stuff has suffered in the same way by being incrementally better. So I love those figures. I think they're really good. I wish the Ruby face had been a little bit better. I still don't think we quite hit her character in the way that the Shooty one is absolutely spot on.
Yeah, I think irrespective of your persuasion on what you're a fan of, whether it's classic or new Who or both, I think that it's when you're looking at it, not for who it is, but the design and how something like that is put together. Like that was the change, or the step up for character in going to that new generation of figure, the articulation, their head movements and stuff, which can then be utilised going forward for releases down the track or projects down the track. So they were the test point in figures.
They were.
And as I said, I'm not I've watched the new series, but my heart's with the classic. But I appreciate the workmanship that goes into something, and those figures are fantastic. Just that the way they stand, the articulation, the posing. Like I've done some photos which I'll put up here on screen of just some of them in action, where I do a few action figure photo things, as you guys know, and bit of atmospherics like the old days with a bit of smoke and lighting and stuff, and they actually come up pretty cool. So yeah, it sort of set the bar, I guess, didn't it? And then, as you said, moving into the pertwee.
They were really good. As I say, the one I'm slightly disappointed with is the Ruby one. I think facially we could have. You're always critical of your own work, but I think we could have made her everything else other than the face. I was generally very, very happy with, but I just think her face is slightly softer. At least the perception of her face is like. I mean, she's really attractive girl, so and I'm not quite sure we captured that. But that said, yeah, 100%. Those were great figures. It set the bar. Then we had the Pertwee, which was just a. That was a head that I'd had weirdly kicking around for about a year beforehand, and we ended up using that head on a new Pertwee with the Sonic, and it's that time tunnel right at the beginning of the program from 1970. 3, and just that slight smile on the face. I thought we hit it perfectly. The rest of the body obviously is the same, but I thought that was really good. And then we had the 14th and Meep, which it was just brilliant. The Meep as a figure is brilliant, and it was the first time we got to do that thing of having things like head swap, which I think most people kind of fell off their seat slightly when they discovered that there was multiple hands and guns and angry heads and happy heads. So yeah, I really like that figure. And the 14th Doctor, again, that was a new head. I didn't like the original one that we'd done for the regen set, so that was recut. Exact same sculpt, but actually just the tooling was redone on the head, and I think it showed. So I really liked that one a lot. I think it captures something of the. I mean, he's so slim in real life, and so he looks like he's tall, but he looks quite slight, and I think that figure goes some way towards capturing the 14th Doctor, which I think the previous 10th and iterations of the 10th Doctor didn't quite. And then we had the Wrath, which I think we've talked about already, but Wrath. I think they're great. I think they're just the ultimate iteration of a bug-eyed monster that turns out to be benevolent, and the Meep, who is the ultimate version of a cute, cuddly creature that turns out to be a freaking psychopath. And if you're as old as I am and you remember the comics, it's even better because I literally referenced multiple times that cartoon, that literally one shot from the cartoon where the Meep just pulls out the blaster and is like, it's pure, just fabulous kind of slightly dynamic pose of the Meep sort of pointing his blaster and turning into an absolute crazy.
But again, the Meep was a brand new figure too, so I think that was
and Owen was a master as well. Yeah, you've brought him up. So yeah, the master is probably, it's a mixed bag for me. I really wanted to do. I'd always said with the master, the classic master, that if we were going to do him, we were going to do him properly, and there would be no messing around. It's the one figure where I didn't get to do what I wanted. I wanted to do him with articulated shoulders, and unfortunately at that point the budget was set, and despite me sort of campaigning several times, the reply was, there's no more budget, that's the budget, you need to do it that way. So I didn't.
Well, just ask Al, what are we talking about in terms of what we? Because I'm fascinated by action figures, but I've no idea of the financial mechanics of it. What were you looking at? What shortfall were you to make put in that articulation you'd have wanted?
Oh, it was probably. So the master is essentially a new neck component and new arms and a new PVC wrap. But essentially, he uses most of, weirdly, the original Roger Delgado master that we did, a good few years ago. But you probably, it would cost another probably 10 grand at least.
Yeah, right.
Because I'd have fundamentally had to change the entire core of the figure, which would have left me using basically his hips and his upper legs.
Yeah.
The original, and everything else would be new. And at that
it's a lot of money. It's amazing, isn't it? I mean, you wouldn't.
Well, it is, and you could have.
It's 10 grand.
It is a lot of money, and you get to a certain point where it's triggers broom, and you kind of think, well, if I've done that, I should just be redoing the whole thing, because I'm compromising everything for the sake of the core. If you compromise it and you use most of the core, then you kind of accept what you've done, and you say, well, it's this figure reused and it's got X, Y, and Z as new bits. Fine. But if you're left with something like the hips and the upper thighs, you're like, what the hell's the point? I might as well be making a new figure for this one.
I understand from a business perspective if you don't want to divulge too much of this, but if there's a problem then with the master where you've got to compromise there, does that then have a knock-on effect into the next release or from the previous release, or are they all sectioned out with their costs?
No, they're all treated as individual figures. They're all costed out. What do we think it's going to cost the factory to make? I work with my engineer to say this bit and this bit and this bit are going to be changed on the figure, or this is all going to be new, or whatever. And she literally costs out the tooling cost to do that. And what you end up with at the end of that is, here is the budget to make this figure that you've proposed. Here is the budget to make this figure that you've proposed. And here is the budget to make this figure that you've proposed. And this is what the factory is going to charge you when you make it for each of those. So yeah, they're all treated as individual projects. You can't just which is why, as I say, you end up in a situation where, once you've started down that path and you've said, I'm going to make it for this, there was no going back at that point.
You can't change course.
You can't change course.
No. But I think that's been our discussion all along. When we've gone into this journey, we've looked at there's, as much as everyone likes to see the action figures and enjoy them, we're in a different market these days. A lot of the companies are not pumping out the toys. You have Bros and the Star Wars figures and things, that they're not being pumped out in the same quantities that they used to be once upon a time, and it's a knock-on effect through all. So to get them out there, you've got to put them out at a price point. Companies have still got to try and make money out of things, but the collectability, it's more changed to a niche market now. It's not just kids picking these things up and playing with them. You still have a proportion of that, but there's a lot of us adult collectors who now...
Yeah, that's exactly it. The irony is that it's, in very few cases, it's kids. It's almost always adults.
You've already sort of said that there'll be a different format for next year.
I don't know. That's not set in stone. But what I can tell you is the steel is being cut, so we are making next year's line come what May. Whether it goes into another year after that is a very big question. But there's some as far as I'm concerned, there's some fabulous stuff for next year. Hopefully something that will please everyone. So I'm very excited about next year and what next year might bring. We might do something different. I was speaking to somebody last week who kind of agrees, because I sort of said, look, shall we show this all at Toy Fair? And they were like, no, we're not doing it at Toy Fair. There's a whole bunch of other stuff. So there will be an announcement. I think it will probably happen on the website at some point. When it will happen, I don't know.
All will be revealed in due course.
Yeah, and I think we'll show people everything. I think we'll basically say, this is it.
Well, in regard to a few obvious issues that have happened in recent times, which we won't go through now, but obviously, it'll if that methodology works, then obviously it'll stop a few other issues.
Well,
that
the strange thing is, as of Monday, I'm on holiday Monday. I've got Christmas shopping to do, but as of Monday, the first shots of 2026 are going to be sat on my chair for when I come in on Tuesday. So
very good.
I'm very excited. What's weird?
Holidays Monday. I thought a week
Same time as that's happening, the very last thing for 2026 is still to arrive on my inbox as a digital sculpt, which I'm hoping to also see sometime next week. So next week's going to be a big one. But this is
going to have a nice little Christmas
morning in theory. So this is all in the past. So we're a bit timey-wimey.
No, very good.
Of course, the other thing is that the last Vortex one from this year did get bumped, as we know, and it got bumped to next year, and that's probably the one I'm most excited about, ironically.
Yeah,
the last one always is the one I get most excited about.
Well, I think everyone knows now that it's been publicly stated that that's been bumped, so everyone's looking forward to see what that will be, and we'll have to wait and see until the announcement's made in due course.
It'd be nice if just once, that's my Christmas wish, just once, can it come out without some revealing what it is? That would be so nice.
Don't mince words, Al. Say what you really mean.
I don't know about everybody else, but I've grown very patient as I've got older. It's like I'm quite happy to wait, and I actually enjoy that period of building up for something. So to spoil it, it's just I just don't have that urgent. I don't understand quite. I can just wait for things and enjoy them when they come out. But yeah,
okay. Well, this is part of the reason, Neil, that I think we're probably going to announce everything early next year in terms of what we're doing, because it kind of, in a way, I mean, it's always a double-edged sword, but in a way, the theory is, if you announce it, everyone knows what's coming, and they can speculate all they want, but they're going to see exactly what they're going to get, and it's up to them if they buy into it. So from that point of view, I think it's a good thing that obviously you set yourself up as, I didn't want that kind of thing. So there's an aspect, and it gives people a year to moan about stuff with alacrity. So, but I agree with you. I much prefer to just wait and get something that it's finished, because it's nice, and I go, oh, that's new. I'll get that. That's quite exciting. So I'm with you on that.
And moving along to, I guess, a reflection piece in general about how we first sort of started discussing this idea and looking at not just the current, and like that was just a byproduct of what we started out to do. Initially, when I approached it, was more about looking at the history of the construction of these figures and the story behind it, and getting a bit more of a behind the scenes journey. Yeah, in reflection, I look back now at some of the work I've put together over the last, nearly 12 months now that we've been doing this. And for me, it's been quite a fun journey. Has there been anything that sort of stood out for you, Al, or a favourite just going back?
To be honest, I feel like I've been railroaded into this, and I didn't want to do it in the first place. So frankly, I'm monumentally, I'm filing charges as we speak, because you two
serve them on my solicitor.
Come and have a chat, they said. 4 years later.
Just a chat between friends.
Toss. I get enough of that at work.
No, but it's been an interesting little journey just to look through it, because not everyone sort of understood the mechanics of what was involved in those early days, and between yourself and Ed and Andy just sharing some of that, I guess it was good. And I guess probably my favourite point when we were discussing was probably when we went to the classics, the K1 collect and build. That was probably our best, I think, most popular chat we've done thus far.
Yeah, and it's why I'm horribly jealous of Neil, to be honest, because I get to make little figures at Broton, but he's bloody got Broton, and that.
Wow. Now, what I'm going to do, which I tried to ask our guys in the last chat, but obviously it went a little bit off topic, because obviously we had Neil Cole, and he's got a plethora of knowledge about Classic Who, and telling us, and he's been sharing stories with us about his museum, which is fantastic, fascinating, and a real tribute to classic. And there's now some new Who stuff and other sci-fi genres. And I'm just so amazed how he can squeeze something into such a small space. But one of the questions we were going to ask, which I'm going to put it to both of us right now, is your favourite classic or new Who episode and why? So, Ed, I think we sort of briefly touched on this, but
I probably didn't go into as much detail. I just absolutely adore City of Death. I think the Paris location shooting on film is amazing. You know, the story itself, it probably encapsulates everything that I love about Doctor Who. The monster reveal is fantastic. It's a very unnerving idea that somebody would have a false face and underneath would be a hideous creature, and the entire humor in it, there's so much fantastic humor, and I love the time travel elements. I love the idea of the Doctor going back and trying to scupper the plan by writing this as a fake on the back of the painting. It's just everything about that story encapsulates everything I love about Doctor Who. And I think even as well the companion, there's obviously a fantastic chemistry between Lala Ward and Tom Baker, and it's all there on screen, and I found the Doctor fascinating, and it's got some fantastic scares, some horror moments. The whole pocket time changing, with the chicken and the egg, and it's just got such a weird feel to it.
With the theme behind me, I guess I love Cybermen, love Daleks too, but I just have this I never thought, and I've mentioned this previously, I never thought that I'd be sitting surrounded by, as a kid, be sitting, having a Cyberman, standing behind me, and other various bits and pieces. So it's a bit of a surreal moment. So I think for me, one of my favourite episodes happens to be the Five Doctors, and we do talk about that a little bit from time to time.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I recently had the pleasure of having a conversation with David Banks and Mark Hardy, and they shared some of their insights about their time on the show. And I thought, this is a Christmas episode, so I thought, well, you know what? I've taken a small portion of that conversation, and I thought we could have a bit of a look at that as a break in between our big long conversations. Anything that you can sort of recall from your time doing the Five Doctors? Do you remember how many days you were there filming?
I think it was about 10, wasn't it? Something like that.
Yeah.
But Mark, do you remember the name of the hotel we stayed in? Because I've been remembering it as one thing, and then a friend of mine sent me something and showed me that it was totally another. I don't remember the name of the other, but I thought it was the Bell, and it wasn't.
It was a sort of pub, wasn't it? It was a pub with rooms upstairs. Do you think it's still going or not? I don't know.
Yes, I think it is.
I actually, when I visited in 2023, I tried to, in my very tight schedule, get across to the death zone, so to speak. I think it was on the way to Port Merion, but I couldn't quite make it because I ran out of time and days.
I mean, you're mentioning Port Merion brings up memories for me, because Mark and I Mark drove us to the location. We did our 10-day stint there. And when we came back, do you remember, Mark, we we popped in to Port Merion.
Yes, we did. I do remember.
For me, it was a nice memory because I'd previously been there when I was a member of the Welsh National Theatre, and we'd toured there. And of course, I remember that for the Prisoner. And what I remember about just the Five Doctors is the fact that most of the Five Doctors were there. Obviously, Tom wasn't, although he pretended to be. And
he was stuck somewhere, apparently.
He was. And but Patrick, that I grew up with Patrick as my doctor, and so to be able to chat to him, to see him every night when we'd stopped and we were at the bar and just chatting.
But the other thing I remember, Patrick Troughton saying, out of everything he did, and he had one incredible career actually. He said his happiest and most enjoyable time was playing Doctor Who, playing the character, which is rather nice. And I remember, of course, Jean Pertwee telling stories. Not actually. Yes, it was later, wasn't it? Am I thinking of the right time? He wasn't there in Wales, was he?
Yes, he was, but only briefly. But he would have been telling his stories there as well.
Telling lots and lots of stories.
Always tells stories.
Peter Moffat, the director, he had a special place at the bar on the left, always with a bottle of wine, wasn't it? Wine glass, a bottle of wine. And he had this sort of, people had their places, didn't they, as the days went on.
Yeah, he was lovely man, wasn't he?
Lovely, really good. Yeah, and he interestingly enough, he just very quickly, he just said he had done so many plays, with John Gielgud, with Buffington, live television ones that obviously weren't kept by the BBC. And he said,
no, they were just destroyed.
And I mean, he was obviously a very impressive, prestigious television director. But of course, the younger producers coming up probably wouldn't have seen a lot of his earlier work because it's all gone back into the ether, as it were.
He was so meticulous. I remember complimenting him on he knew everything. He knew where everything was going to go. He had written it all down and everything. Prepared it absolutely to the T the night before. And he said, "Dear boy, this is the reason I do this, is because I might die in the night. At least it's all here."
Do you remember?
But it was the fact that our costumes, our helmets, did just limit visibility, our visibility of our ability to see the outside world. And you, Mark, have this thing of being able to see through different orifices of your helmet.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, because my helmet, yes, which I for some reason, as I mentioned, I've got this. Here we are. Can you see a bit of it? Here we are. Not actually my helmet.
That's his very own. That's your very own, Mark.
You can finish the interview with your helmet on now.
Yeah. Well, as soon as this interview's over, I put it back on because I normally walk around obviously with it most of the day. I've taken it off for this moment. No, but the interesting thing is, yes, when David is to my right, or I want to know what was going on to my right or left, I could turn and look through the ear. There's a sort of earpiece.
Yeah.
So I could actually see, sideways. That's true.
Pity there wasn't a nose. You could have looked through that as well.
Like that, David, you and me were quite a lot taller than the other cyber extras they'd got in. Wasn't they? When we were walking along, I think you and me quite rather tall.
Yes, that's true. There were local actors, I think.
Yes.
And I think Peter thought it wouldn't matter because, of course, they're in the distance and there's always perspective to take.
It would be like putting me in a cyber suit standing next to you two.
Yes.
I'm only 5'9".
If you stood just behind us, it would look as though you were on the next hill.
Yes.
Very short.
That was Peter's thinking, anyway.
Yes.
Of course, there were three groups of Cybermen. Everybody: the cyber leader, cyber lieutenant, all the rank. We were troops, different, but we were meant to be different troops. This is how it, but there was the same people playing them. I don't know if,
Yes.
it's because I think in the Five Doctors, the cyber leader at least gets killed off twice. Isn't that right? Twice.
Yes, correct.
Yeah.
As I was talking to my friend Al Dewar, who helps create those little Cybermen figures, and one of those questions was, ask David about the cyber leader being killed twice. Well, clearly it was supposed to be several troops or groups of Cybermen, and there's leaders for different... There you go. A little snippet of my chat.
That's very, the mention of Pat Troughton is very evocative. I just found in my dad's diaries a piece about him that he'd written about because he was obviously working on the series throughout Patrick Troughton's tenure as the Doctor, and my dad really liked Patrick Troughton, and there's a fantastic entry I found with him saying that he was in to watch. He wasn't on cameras that day, but he was stood in the wings. There was somebody that he was interested in seeing on 6-5 Special, which was a music light entertainment program, and he stood with Pat Troughton watching this broadcast being made, and yeah, he always spoke very highly of him.
For everyone out there, if you jump to my channel, the full interview is there for everyone to see. So I encourage everyone to take a look. It was a fun conversation, and we even talked about things like the Ultimate Adventure, the Big Finish stuff, and obviously when he had to take over for John Pertwee when he fell ill for the Ultimate Adventure for 2 performances only. Shares a bit of info about that, and obviously about their careers and how they ended up being Cybermen.
What's weird is that the TARDIS light the TARDIS light's changed all the time. It's really weird. It fades in and it fades out, but it never goes completely out. And then I don't know, you'll be able to correct me, I'm sure, somebody, but did it stay on? Because the modern phenomenon is that the light stays on while the TARDIS is parked. But that's
possibly in the Tom Baker period. I think it did in Ark in Space, didn't it?
It was. I think it was pretty random. I think they just didn't care about that sort of stuff. Like in Ark in Space, doesn't the TARDIS just sort of lands, doesn't it? If I remember rightly,
it does. But Shane's right. In fact, it's one of my favorite sequences because the TARDIS arrives and then the police signs light up along the top, and I think they did it because it's in a dark alcove, and I think they did it because it kind of
created shadows and light.
What it was. But yeah, I think you're right, Neil. They probably just did it.
We won't even talk about the police lamp fiasco of the late 70s either. I mean, what was that? That was just
that was the bill, wasn't it?
It's Shada you're getting at, really, isn't it?
I think that started with Armageddon Factor, didn't it? After Kroll.
Yeah, it's not my favorite TARDIS light.
No. I've actually got, bizarrely enough, I met a chap who did the design drawing for that, and he gave me his design drawing for the museum. So it's in here.
Newbury?
Yeah, it's the Shada one, and he was talking about it, and he was in the paper briefly. He didn't do a lot of work. It was Les McCallum, he was called, lovely chap.
Oh, wow.
And he did a lot of work for the tripods as well, and he sent me all his Polaroids of the tripods. When I'm going to do an issue on the tripods at some point.
Did he do any other work on the Shada?
There he is.
Margot Hayhoe. It was Margot Hayhoe who got me in touch, because Margot, it worked from the floor assistant to, she'd worked for 20 years on Doctor Who Plus, and she did production manager for Day of the Triffids, and she gave me the Triffid that's in here to restore. She was lovely. I mean, she got me in touch with Les, and Les was just lovely.
Sorry, back up 1 second. You have a Triffid?
Yeah. Have you not seen that? I'll send you a copy if you want. Hang on a second.
One of the tall funnel-topped Triffids from the BBC.
So this is my knackered shop copy. I do these magazines for museum subscribers, and And that's the one I restored. I'll send you a link, Al, because I did the restoration video. So I don't know if you can see this on here, but Margot came up and she brought this. I'm looking, and that was the one of the large model ones that I didn't realize that the farm sequences in episode 1 used models because they were so bloody good. I thought it was all just a few full sizes, but it wasn't. And anyway, it was in terrible nick. So she said, you can have it for the museum. She came and we did a day. We did Day of the Triffids up here. It was called the Day of the Triffid. And she came up and gave a talk. And Graham Harper came with her as well.
Oh, he's
yes, he's look. Anyway, and I restored it. I'm going to try and say it slowly and step by step. I restored it. And now, husband, there's Mike. Now, Mike was cameraman for the Romans, but he also filmed John Pertwee turning into Tom Baker. And it was just a fabulous couple of days.
Because I love those Triffids.
Well, would you like a copy of that? Because that's the history. Also, I'll tell you what also is in here is Les very kindly sent me. He loved watercolor. If you can see this, and he sent me copies of that. Is a watercolor he did on set in between, and Margot Hayhoe is in the middle. That's the photo he's working from as well.
Yep.
And she's they're all waggling Triffids behind the scenes. And there's another lovely, and he just did some lovely, and they've never been seen before. You said you can use them in here. And so I'll happily send you one of these. And I was really pleased with it because I love, it's my favorite sci-fi book by and Margot gave me a shirt as well. And that was the Say It With Triffids. It's a T-shirt she found. That was the production shirt, and that's in the museum as well.
So there's a complex. Like one of the reasons I love those Triffids is that when I was growing up in Scotland, one of the plants my dad had in the back garden was called a snapdragon, and it was a weird-looking thing. But the top of the Triffids looks exactly like a snapdragon, and that's a very complex set, actually.
Well, we're going live.
Neil live running through the museum.
Live to the Triffid.
No, I'll just stick a light on here because I haven't got all my light.
Well, it looks very festive. In fairness,
let's have a look.
Oh, hello.
There it is.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can.
There it is.
You see, there's a big shape behind it. That's a section off. That's a section off the actual full-size one. That's the bit that covered the actor.
I'm immensely proud of the figures that have come out this year that I've had anything to do with. I think that the general was still producing stuff that, or I would say, we're producing stuff that is several steps ahead in terms of fidelity to the program and to the characters than anything that we were able to do back in the day. Those Vortex edition figures just have that much more put into them, and it's I just look at at Meep and the Wrath and the 14th Doctor, 15th Doctor, Ruby, Pertwee. They're just they're things that you always, as a toy designer, obviously primarily you want to make something that you would want to own yourself, that would want to be representative of the things that you love. So they certainly have a lot of love put into them.
Yeah, but even the simple thing about, like as you were discussing before, about test shots and things like that was something that I really wasn't. I have a few myself, and it's nice to see, and it's amazing how much detail actually shows up in a test shot versus the older application of when they were printed a certain, or made a certain color, and then the paint apps were done, which takes away some of that detail. Like I think I've got the Deadly Assassin Tom Baker one that came my way, that I've got that the detail in that Tom head, and then versus when it was painted up. And that's something that's been discussed, that there's just it takes away some of the detail because obviously you're putting layers of paint over the top of some high detail. But it's just fascinating how that process is done with those test shots are then made to give give Al and character an idea of what it's going to look like when it's made as a figure. And so and like you've probably got tubs of the things from years gone by. I think you even mentioned, was there a McGann with an overinflated or underinflated head?
Yeah.
Which is, and that's all. Yeah. Is that part? That's to do with the flow of the plastics and stuff. When
It is, because with a complex mold, they have to get the temperature of the plastic just right. Otherwise, it can be. You get issues if it's too hot, and you get issues if it's too cold. It won't fill the mold properly, there's too much shrinkage or too much distortion. If it's being pulled out whilst still very hot, then it can distort quite. So I've got a whole series of McGanns, some with very fat heads and some with very thin heads, but they're all quite noticeably different.
Oh dear! But and the other thing, it's been nice that you've been able to provide some archival imagery along our journey as well, mate. Because some of those things people don't get to see. I mean, people have seen, little images over the internet, blurry shots of something that was around that someone's got hold of, but at least we've had sort of the access to be able to say, well, here it is in true form, and some of them courtesy Al, some of them courtesy of you. But it's just been nice to, I guess, have them as well to sort of show what, especially the K1 series and those. That was the thing that grabbed my attention, I guess, because I'm a big fan of the classic. I mean, don't get me wrong, I still like the new Who Revival. I've got a lot of those as well, but I guess it depends on where your heart lies. And nostalgia, obviously, as you can see from behind me, is clearly a classic reign, even with our little troll doll sitting on the back shelf waiting for the temperature to rise. So I better be careful because it's going to be a hot day here in Australia today.
It's how do you, as a question I have for you is, you must see some stuff that is in a horrendous state of disrepair.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen anything and you think, I can remake this, but it's literally not salvable?
Basically, yeah. I mean, there's one piece I refused to restore, which was a Vervoid. I've got a Vervoid which is in terrible nick, which I'm restoring at the minute. It's long term. I just do bits and bobs because it's the whole.
I love the Vervoids.
The great design, lovely design. I agree, lovely. And so I'm doing that at the minute. But there was one chap came to me and he had one, and it was just. I mean, it was. There comes a point where, and right, you've got to bear in mind, I was an art teacher for many years, and I my background was sort of a background of not knowing what the hell, how to ever achieve any of the things I wanted to do. So I mean, I wanted to be, the new singer of Rush, for example, and bass player of Rush for a while, and I played in a Rush cover band for a little bit, and did all sorts of crazy things, and then studied astrophysics because I wanted to be Patrick Moore. And it's like but what I really wanted to do was be a comic artist or an action figure maker or a filmmaker or a really monster maker. And again, as you know, growing up in that era in Northumberland, honestly, you might as well have said, I don't know, I want to be a zebra creating dance mimic artist. Do you know what I mean? It just wouldn't. There was no help. There was no assistance, and so I've just had to forge my way through. It's very weird how I've got to where I have, but somehow I saw the Blue Peter program where they were selling off at Bonham's the costumes, and that was about 1990. At that point, I was just broke, and I just thought if I can afford the catalogue, I'll be happy. Did manage to get the catalogue. All I wanted from that, I thought, God, if I could just even have a Sarn Dweller's tea towel, hat piece, I would feel like a little bit of Doctor Who. And then I just became a teacher by the time I was 30. I think people had bought racks of costumes and monsters. And of course, I was unaware of the condition. And then I remember getting my first one or two pieces, paying monthly through second-hand, dealers by this point had got in. And then I remember the first piece I got in this serious way was the Pteroleptil, and that was in a terrible condition. And I followed it from Llangollen. When I got my first car, I went down to Llangollen because I motorcycled for most of my life. Went down to Llangollen, then it came up to Blackpool, And when the auction then happened, I knew they were going to shut that. I knew they were going to close that because there was just no funding for it. And everything was dropping to bits. And I got that. And that was a real call to action, I think, at that point. And the pteroleptal leader head had been put with the red pteroleptal. It was all just totally mishmash, you know. And with that one, the lip and the neck had all gone. And it was like, that was my first. And also they put a ping pong ball in the eye and just got a square end marker and just gone, you know, and it was like, wow, it's so crap. It's so crap. And that was the start of the journey, as it were. And I think the pteroleptal taught me a lot of lessons in that. It was like, how much of this is me? How much of it is, what am I doing? Am I just preserving, or am I restoring? What am I doing? And
recreating.
Yeah, and it gets to the point where now I've got very much this. I've got Michael Wisher's mask from Davros, you know, the actual original one, and that I'll zoom through in a minute, sure. But basically, it's in terrible condition because whoever had it just stuck it in a loft.
I was going to say, is that? Do you think part of the reason for that variance is mishandling, mistreatment versus just material degradation over time? Is it a weird combination of everything?
Yeah, it's both. What I'm very lucky. I'll tell you who I had in here. I had a chap called Bob Richardson came in, and he was the manager and planner for the Blackpool exhibition for many years in the 70s. He turned up, he's in his 80s, and he said, "I hear you've been influenced by my work." And I went, when he told me he was, I was like, "Oh my God." I said, "You've changed my bloody life." I said, "If I hadn't done that, I hadn't been there. This would never have been."
I remember a guy at Hasbro when I was there, and he said his aunt was, I think his aunt was June Hudson, weirdly. And she in her house, she had Scaroth's original masks hanging on the end of it, and he told us he used to go around to his aunt or his mum's friend's house, and the Scaroth mask would be, which there was a few of, I guess, but it was hanging off the end of a bedpost for years. And it's like, and I remember asking him once, I said, "Oh, you know, have you still got it?" And he was like, "Oh no, it fell to pieces. We used to muck around with it." And I was like, "Oh my god.
That's what's left to do. Now, what I did with that is I managed to get a cast from one of the original molds, and I just placed the surviving bits around it because it would have just become. I'd sculpted a Davros before, but it would have just become effectively. It would have become. Sorry, door. Bloody TARDIS door. No, it would have become.
Is that a genuine Sutek servo mummy?
Yes. Yes, that's one of the only surviving one. That Davros was a case of, if I'd sculpted the face back, there was so much of the face missing, it would have just been my face sculpt.
Yeah,
it's a funny one, but like the Davros was a clear case. It would have been more of my sculpture. So what I did was I managed to get a cast of the original from the original mold, used that as the base, and just placed and it's so warped over time. I didn't want to tear. It was just, just place it round. So it was like a map. It was like mapping what was left. I got the idea because I was up at the Roman wall. I'm not far from the Roman wall here, and there was a lovely exhibition of a Roman suit armor they'd got out. And what they'd done is they've got the bits, and they positioned it lovely, and then they'd done a half recreation, and that's how I thought,
was that one of the ones that was, or the one that was used twice, as in back for Destiny, and then
that's the one.
And it was so much darker in Destiny anyway, because they must have slapped a shit ton of makeup over the top of that one, and then.
And sorry, the one I was just going to say about the Vervoid one, that was simply, I just said, look, with that, there was so distorted, so buckled, it was knackered. Well, the thing was, what I said was, I would be sealing all this in resins and stuff, embalm it basically, and I would just present it in a frame now with a nice picture. I just would. It's still a piece, but they wanted me to resculpt them. It's just
funny, isn't it? Because I went to see Mike Tucker's exhibition up in the
yeah,
absolutely brilliant, and he's got a Sea Devil there, and it's almost in perfect condition.
Yeah, I know, very much. That's in my new book. That he sent me all the pictures of it for the book. So I'm doing the book I'm doing at the minute is what's left from the Pertwee era, and I've tracked down 3 surviving Sea Devil heads. Robert Alsop's got one, Mike's got one, Mike's restored 2, and I know another chap's got a 3rd. And I'm trying to get as many people to let me use the pictures, and just so that we've got a nice. It's that sort of legacy record of what's out there. And I find it's like I just love it, seeing what's left.
I mean, I'm assuming some of the stuff is the classic BBC fiberglass stuff, like Vok robots and Cybermen heads. Do you ever come across those that do they degrade to the same extent?
Oh, no. In fact, off we go for another trip in the TARDIS, lads. Hang on here.
I'm coming along.
I'll give you a little example here. I'll give you a little example. I'll try and do this first forward. I got here. There's old Broton there. There he is. And there's
just to stop on Broton there for a second, Neil.
Yeah.
You've got a mask as well, Mark.
That is so good.
Which version of the Zygons has each of you got? That's Broton.
Yeah. There's the old.
Have you worked out what your one is, Mark?
No, mine's a generic. I think mine's been a fan made based loosely around a classic Zygon head. That's that's all I was able to find out about mine. A fan made.
As we've discussed this year, there were varying head shapes.
Oh, there's the Tetra.
That was a big restoration job, which I can bore you with another point. But if I just come around the corner here, you've got that's the Cyber Scout, which that was one of the first pieces I got, and that's the original chest and head. And again, it was, and I managed to get the gun this year. That was weird. After 20 years, I managed to get the gun reunited with it. The where is it? The original gun.
And is that a cryon mask?
Yes. Now that's very fragile. That is Faith Brown's mask, and that is plastic. So that is that sort of cheap mask plastic.
Yeah.
So that is don't breathe on that bad boy. The other one, the most recent thing I've got in here, I think. There's a bit of pteroleptal action for you there. If you're coming around here,
it's fabulous.
This is the oldest. This is a lovely piece. That's from Underworld. Yeah, and that's a lovely fiberglass bucket. Basically, it's like a bucket with watering can attachments. Literally, I kid you not. So that's really lovely because it is robust. And there's old. Hang on, where is he? There he is.
Mestor.
There he is, old Mestor baby. Yeah, there he is. Anyway, so I'll come back round. Yeah, sorry.
So the fiberglass and the vac form stuff, I assume vac form does degrade, but I assume the fiberglass stays relatively intact.
The vac form is not the best because it's just so bloody brittle. But in some ways, I would say the vac form is the worst because once it cracks, I've got just down there. Sorry, I should have stopped. There's a rocket or a bomb from Curse of Fenric. It's about this big, and it was vac form on a wooden thing. And honestly, man, if I tried to get into that to fix the cracks, it's just going to shatter.
It's styrene, and I know what you mean. Styrene's horribly. Literally, I know what you mean because you can't kind of control the thickness of the material, and it's like it can be like paper in some way. The way most people display costumes is they stick it on a shop dummy.
Yes.
Actually, looking at just even that brief look you gave us, clearly the armature and the pose and everything is much more specific for what you're showing in terms of you've really captured the correct posing, and I didn't see much, but even the way Broton was sat, I could tell.
Now, Broton was
done dummy that's in there.
Now Broton was that was restored by Mike Tucker, who very kindly. It's living with us here, and Mike, it's on loan from Mike, long-term loan basically, and it's lovely of him to leave it here. But basically, it was in lockdown. He was struggling to find storage, and he said, "Babe, would you be interested?" I said, "Oh God, I'll give Broton a home." But he's so big because the mannequin. Basically, the guy who made done the restoration was Colin Mapson, who was, one of the designers in the BBC effects. But he'd actually been uncredited, and had made the original Zygon costumes. He'd helped fabricate them. So it was really lovely that Colin Mapson got the job of restoring Broton. So Mike was involved, but fundamentally it was Colin. He delegated it, I think, primarily to Colin because Colin had done it before. So, and it was for the Olympia exhibition. And by the time it got to me, Mike said, "If you want to do some restoration on it, you can, Neil." And I went, "Oh my God!" Because the thing is, right, when as a teenager, I wanted to work for Mike Tucker. Or make action. I'd have made action figures for you if you'd been there. I'd have tried to do something like that as well. Anything. I'd have just loved those sorts of work. And so when Mike Tucker, I got the book Ace. I remember pouring through that and just loving this sort of work and the attitude they had. And so when we got to know each other a bit, and then, and then he said, I think it was just basically, I always say I don't care if I do anything else again, really. The fact he rubber stamped the Scarrison and said, I think he said, you're the man for the job on this. I was like, shit. I think
Mike's a fabulous guy. I find
yes, he is. He's super.
I can only imagine it's his temperament that's helped him get through, because I'm sure I know he gets annoyed about some things, but his ability to be slightly dispassionate about stuff, I think, probably helped as well. Because I imagine when you're making models and then watching somebody else potentially muck around with them or mistreat them or whatever, it must be quite hard. But do you find that you get when you're doing your restoration, is it like my action figures? Because like I say, the last one I work on is always the one I love, and then suddenly I'm on the next one.
It's they're fun. I mean, I think what I'm in a funny place in that I'm trying to. It's like imposter syndrome. I sometimes think, how come I was a classroom teacher a little while ago, and now I'm restoring monsters and people are sort of paying me to see them, or you do them, and it's a funny feeling that it's like coming to terms with the fact that I am good enough to do it is the thing. And that's why Mike's
skills, man.
But Mike's gig was really important to me psychologically, because it was like he's one of my heroes, from growing up, and it's like, wow, he actually does value what I do enough to trust me with a historic piece of Doctor Who, and that was such a kind thing for him to do, and it was just a supportive thing, and it meant the world.
Like I do, that you're pouring your heart and soul into it, and it's the most important thing in the world, and then suddenly that's done and something else comes across your desk, and suddenly I'm into, for me, I can only speak, I'm into that one, and I'm doing that, and as dispassionate as I try to be, I can't stop caring. That's one of the weird things. So this year I gave the B&M stuff to somebody else in the department. I was like, I don't want to do B&M, I'm giving it to you. So and not because I didn't care, I was just like, I wanted to concentrate because there's a ton of stuff for next year. But you can't help but kind of just always be keeping an eye on everything, and you're probably the same. You kind of it's there in the peripheral, but you still know it's happening, kind of thing.
I mean, any restoration job is really funny, like that Tetrap. That was one of the most difficult ones I've ever done, because that was the special effects mask, and it had a fiberglass underskull, but the whole of it, the foam was just starting to slump and collapse under its own weight, and it needed resculpting and bits and things. There's no rule book on which to follow on. Do you know what I mean? There was no.
Yeah. Did you have to de-fur it? Did you have to de-skin it essentially and take the fur off?
In bits, in bits. The fur was a nightmare. Yes, the fur had actually been put on with Velcro, which was a bloody. But again, pulling the Velcro off, the Velcro at times had more adhesion now than the bloody foam had to itself. That was the problem with things. You know what I mean?
On with Velcro.
Yeah, some of it on that one. Yeah, I mean, it looks great, but it's when you just don't know with all these things. You don't know how they've been. Every job's so different, and that's the thing. I think it's that initiative that I think one of the things I think one of my skill sets is I've got a sense of initiative to a job. I may not have done something ever before, but I'll tackle it. Break it down and tackle it. It's like the microwave oven door. It's like you may never have been a microwave engineer, but
I think that's the sign of somebody who would and clearly is good at restoration, because I think that ability to stand back and analyze and then change your plan. The minute you get a bit more information, and then change your plan when you get a little bit more and then change your plan when you get more information. That must be it's like an ever-moving feast is all I can imagine.
It is. And the funniest one about the Scarrison was I was hand sculpting every scale. Thankfully, there's a few scales there, so I could copy them, but they're distorted. This is the problem. The rubber, over that many decades, they buckle, And then it was Mike just in an email. He said, Neil, by the way, I think the chap, I forget his name, who'd sculpted him, he used the end of a big biro pen. I was like, really? And then I was like, oh. course it is. And of course, the irony was I draw in biro a lot of the time, just because I'm just quite nifty with the biro. And it was just that end of the, you bastard, it is. So then, but then of course the problem, then I started doing nice neat rows. Had to actually tool one of these down because they're not flat inside. Anyway, another boring story. But bottom line, after that, I then realised that unfortunately the warping on some of the scales meant that they were no longer regular. So then it was then trying to disguise the meetup of the scale so that, you know what I'm saying. So there wasn't this bloody obvious line and it was all this sort of nonsense. And that's where that sort of initiative is. Okay, I'll just do a bit of arty, farty, bit of clarty with that, and and it's just, it's any creative works like this, really, isn't it? But it's about like the mummy head that was donated by the milkman's son from BBC TV Centre. He got that because the milkman at the time was doing the rounds and visual effects were chucking out, and the guide said to him, "Is your son into Doctor Who? Does he want this?" It was the mummy head, and he went, "Yeah, go on then." And the son played with it for about a day, then shoved it away in his cupboard. And then now, fast forward, he went, "I've seen your museum. This needs to be in a little museum, I think. Would you like it?" And I was like, yeah. And if that had gone to Bonham's or they would prop store or something like that, it would have gone for 15 grand. I don't know, gone for whatever, and I would never be seen again probably, and that would be that.
Yeah, shocking.
It's a shame.
The thing that amazes me,
Sorry.
I was just going to say, Neil, the thing that amazes me that I've actually had the opportunity to physically visit the museum is that the space, and funnily enough, I was talking to Sophie Aldred about your museum and how much space you actually have, but how you meticulously have it laid out. Like it's an exciting little space to wander around in. Like I'm not sure what the square footage of that is, but it's not big. It's essentially it's a small space, but you've managed to fit so much in that small space, and how you've got everything.
The key point I wanted to say, and I talked to Bob Richardson about it, was if you look at the recent Doctor Who exhibitions that the BBC do, like the Worlds of Wonder one, it tends to be like an English heritage style thing where you go in, you see everything laid out in a room in white light. And going back to Blackpool was the fact it was a corridor, and you turn. I remember the first time I turned, there was a Wirren, the Dalek was there, then you went down, it was radiophonic music, and then bloody hell, there's a Wirren, then it was, you didn't know, round the next corner is this. And although I had very limited space, I thought, right, if I can just do that and hide the next turn. I just find these exhibitions a bit vacuous where you go in. They're slick, they're slick presented, nice screens, but they're just...
You're right. It's so much more exciting to turn a corner and see something.
What am I going to see
next? See when you walked in.
Yeah. And I just found the last Doctor Who one I went to, it was just, everything was laid out. And it was beautiful, don't get me wrong. It was lovely. But I think that was the lovely thing about the classic Doctor Who exhibition and why it made a big impact on people. I think it was that darkens. It was like it was like a ghost train, not in a carriage, but it was almost like a ghost train with radiophonic sound and Doctor Who. You walked through. It was eerie. It was like an extension, a bit like Planet of Evil. It was that color scheme.
That's a really good analogy.
Do you know what I mean? You're like walking through the deep reds, green, primary colors, and you walk through. And there's certain bits in here where I tried to change the colors so it's like red, green, and you turn for the Cybermen and it's just blue.
One, have you restricted yourself only to old Classic Who? And two, what's the oldest item there? Is it something like the Tetrap from McCoy's sort of seasons?
Basically my idea, the idea when I started the museum was to try and get an item from as many classic stories as I could to put a chronological history together. Bit like there was a book came out, 100 Objects of Doctor Who. I wanted to do that book before that book came out. It was that idea of, but in a museum form. It was almost like a book you walk through. So it would be like I had for a while a Thurl cufflink. I thought, right, that's Warriors of the Gate. Thurl cufflink, bingo, right, that's in. And so that was what I was trying to do. And new series wise, I got some collection. I'm going to make a little special display of those soon in here actually. The cover of Volcano, which is episode, I think 5, I can't remember, of the Daleks Master Plan. It's Dennis Spooner's script page of his typewriter, from Dalek Master Plan. So it's 1960, whatever. That's the oldest piece. Then I've got a bit of Breslau. Bernard Breslau's got a bit of back skin from Varga, and I've got a portcullis sprite from Evil of the Daleks. There's a little bit of 60s in there. Then I've got like a Silurian foot, and so the oldest pieces, it gets the 70s. It starts to warm up.
Somebody the other day asking about whether we'd ever do Chumblies, and I was like, bloody Chumblies!
I'd have a Chumbly. I like that.
It might have a limited reach. One of the other things that we looked at was the first book that you've been working on, which it belongs in a museum, which here it is here. And that's when we first had a little bit of a chat about that when we met physically, and you were working on some sketches and obviously I'm just going to add these, which you had a couple of commissions doing. And the one on the right obviously is from that book, which was all done in biro. As you said, you're doing into colour now, and this is one of the commissions that I've organised with you for the autumn, which will be in the and beautiful bit of work, mate. So I
just love hand drawn and hand painted artwork. I'm very lucky. I've got a lot of Andrew Scaletta. I've become a good friend of Andrew's, and again, somebody I admired hugely. His Target covers. I remember one of my favourites was The Awakening. I remember just loving that book cover. It was up for sale not long ago, and I couldn't afford it. I would have loved to have had it in, but I just like work by the human hand still, and I just think it's and I find as well. I think a lot of the Doctor Who artwork, it's all amazingly done and slick again, but it's like it's the composites. They're great, and I do them like my magazines I write. I use that sort of thing for the magazines, but I just wanted to do an old-fashioned book with actual drawings in, and then in the back have photographs of objects. So it'd be like a picture to accompany each of the stories.
And I'm glad to have had you along the way, Ed, to share some words of wisdom and share with us some little tidbits of information that the general public don't usually get to see. So I appreciate that, mate, and thank you very much for your contributions this year.
Oh, thank you, Mark. It's a great pleasure.
So through the powers of time travel, or through the time eddy, we're going to this chat will appear in segments throughout the main chat.
Merry Christmas.
It's been great to just review a quick look over the character stuff for this year, and to look at moving forward into 2026, and then obviously discussing some of our favourite bits about the classic or new series. And then obviously it bled into us wanting to have a chat with Neil today, and some of the wonderful work he does at the museum, and the fun that's all ensued with restoring some of these iconic pieces of the past. And as we've already discussed, it comes in many forms, full restorations or partials. On our little Christmas special, I think that's probably enough time for us today. So in closing, I'm going to go around the room and see if anyone has anything they wish to share before we go off and have Christmas dinner or lunch, whichever it will be, where you are.
2025. I think it's been a great year. Obviously, as you mentioned, we started this idea of having a catch-up and discussing character options figures about a year ago, and here we are. What are we, 6 videos in? Something like that?
More than that, I think.
Feels like more.
Yeah, I think it's more.
Yeah, because we talked for 4 hours. And then leave it to Mark to cut it down to a 2.5 hour show. No, it's been a great journey, and I want to thank everybody that's been involved in this, because we've really had a good time, and we've covered a lot of stuff. And I look forward to next year, quite frankly, with the concepts that Al's put together about what's going to hopefully happen next year with the figurine releases. I think it's going to be great. I look forward to continuing the journey.
Yeah.
And Merry Christmas.
Yes, and Merry Christmas. And it looks like we've changed from Dewar Microwave Engineer, BSc.
Bachelor of Science as well.
Yeah. So if you, Mr. Technical Microwave Engineer Repair...
So are you going to keep the microwave chat in, Mark? Are you going to edit that out? I think we have to now.
There will be a snippet of chat about microwaves. It's a bit like Arthur Two Sheds Jackson, isn't it? Did you compose your symphony whilst you're in the shed? Good old Monty Python. But yeah, Al, any thoughts or words of wisdom for the end of 2025?
I think keeping it to this chat, genuinely one of the things I enjoy. The thing I notice about most YouTube chats is people get ranty and shouty, and we never do. We do go off piste occasionally. No, it's been brilliant, and thank you guys for including me. 2025, I think, because you go, I think as a Christmas present, we can say you guys are aware of something in the background that's don't answer any inquiries about it, by the way. You guys are aware about stuff, and I'm glad that you shared in that. Funnily enough, I think it's going to be. So I think that's been different for me. But overall, yeah, this has been, it's very enjoyable. It's quite cathartic, I suppose, talking about the stuff that pisses you off as well as the stuff that kind of makes you feel better about stuff. So, and we all do this late at night or early morning. You guys are suffering early morning. We're doing it late at night. But it's been great. 2025 has been a very interesting year. Some genuinely, I just can't believe how fast it's gone. I genuinely cannot tell you how weird it is to be at Christmas time again, because honestly, maybe it's an age thing, but it really doesn't feel like it was that.
With that, totally, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
And to our newest addition, Neil Cole. Any thoughts?
Well, it's been great. The last year being not part of this has been bloody great. So I feel really, great. Thanks for, it's been great tonight. I've wanted to chat to Al for ages. I did not expect the conversation we had. And if you've learned anything from tonight's show, folks, is that just be careful, easy on your microwave over Christmas, especially on the day, because you don't overstuff it. Because if it goes, there's not going to be any. Al Dewar, microwave engineer, is going to be too busy on Chrissy Day, any to come out. So just be careful with it. Is what I'm going to say. So just look after your microwave. It's part of the family, really, and it's got an important role over the day. So just it's really good. Thanks. And
well, the Australian office, who is an extra pair of microwaves, will be able to help out. So there you go.
Oh. How did we even start on the microwave?
I don't know. It's great.
It was 2 3/4 hours ago. I can't remember.
Yeah, I can't remember.
No. But again, summing up 2025, it's been a good year, a great ride. Appreciate and obviously have to mention like Ed and Andy. They've been great this year as well with giving us some input, and it's been great to get that insight and into all the things that go on. And then we divert into things like I've been friends with Neil for a long time now, and I just wanted to bring up that link that we always seem to go back to Classic Who and our childhood memories and stuff. So I thought, well, what not better to involve Neil, and he can talk to about the things he curates and looks after in the museum himself.
To be honest, Mark, if I'd known he'd been friends with you this long, I'd have never said hello to him at the BFI. I would have avoided him like the bloody plague.
By association. But again, thank you all, gents, and for everyone out there, I hope you enjoy and take something out of today. So like and subscribe. There's more videos to come. And once again, go and enjoy Christmas, however you celebrate it. And thank you, everyone, again for joining us. So bye for now, everyone, and we'll tune in and see you next time.
And a Merry Christmas,
everyone.
And a Merry Christmas.
We shouldn't say Merry Christmas.
Yes.
Wish you a Merry. Let's do the K9. We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Happy New Year.